Grand Rising, loved ones. Welcome back to another episode of Healing Wisdom with me, your favorite spiritual advisor, Empress Oracle. I hope everyone's doing well. Let's go on ahead and just get to it. So we're going to start off with our spiritual copyright disclaimer. On behalf of Starseed Galactic Federation, I have been given access to this knowledgeable information from my Akashic records for the purpose of helping humanity. This information is given directly to me as a divine channel, and any use or reproduction of this information without proper acknowledgement or accreditation from which this information was received will result in instant karma for the plagiarizing parties or individual. And so it is. Now that we got that good stuff out the way, let's go on ahead to today's topic. So today's topic is sibling rivalry. Now, sibling rivalry is something that is very real and very true. And, a lot of people like to use the motto, I am my brother's keeper. However, is your brother your keeper? Now, siblings also do not have to be somebody who is genealogically, I don't know if I said that right, genetically related to you. A lot of times we may have friends, loved ones who we consider close to us like a brother and a sister. And also, too, to add another layer to that, we all come from Creator, Divine Source, God, Spirit, whatever you want to call it, whatever your beliefs is, tomato, same shit, different toilet. We all come from God. So we are all God's children. So that in that note, we can also consider a sibling rivalry as two beings who are having a human experience and one feels a way towards another. Now, sibling rivalry stems all the way back to biblical times, because in the Bible, there are many instances of sibling rivalry, and some of the most talked about is, for example, Joseph, who God gave him the vision of his purpose, and he shared it with his siblings thinking that they would be happy with him, and instead they were jealous and they actually tried to set him up to be killed, but instead they set him up and sold him into slavery to work for the Pharaoh. But when God has a calling on your life and you have a divine purpose, he will find a use for you, and you will end up living your path and achieving your destiny regardless of any blockages that anybody tries to put in the way. Because how karma has it, he told them that one day they would end up serving him. And the time came where they needed him and he was in the position of power. And instead of being spiteful, he showed them mercy and he gave to them, although they tried to take his life and put him into a life of sufferation. Another example would also be of Jacob and Esau. I don't know if you guys have ever heard that story. They were twins born to Rebekah and Isaac, and Esau basically stole Jacob's birthright because he was jealous because Jacob was the firstborn. And so therefore, once their father was going to die, he would bless him and pass his birthright onto him, which would make him inherit all of his riches and everything. He would basically be the heir, just like how, the English have the royalty in the UK, XYZ, and you have the prince, and then, you have the prince's brother. Okay, so God's favored people must go through way more trials and tribulations than others, because to whom much is given, much is required. And that is something that people do not realize. A lot of times there will be one person in the family who has been chosen. Now, we are all God's children, right? But sometimes we have people who are chosen because they have particular specific purposes in life that they came to achieve and accomplish, not just for themselves during their lifetime, but to help a large amount of people or even humanity, right? Those are called the chosen ones. That's what we call the chosen ones nowadays. However, we have also been called by other names by people who not only did not understand our calling, but they may have feared or envied it, right? So instead, they try to cast us in a dark light. And that's where you have the black sheep of the family come in, the antisocial introverts of the family, the weird ones and stuff. Even when they go around places, they are different. They stand out to others. It's because other people see their light, they see their potential, and they get jealous. And a lot of times that turns into a rivalry. And as God's children, that's sibling rivalry, right? Because people fear what they do not understand. Instead of trying to get a knowledge and an understanding to try to see from somebody else's perspective, a lot of times people instead, they will shun it, they will reject it, they will try to make fun of it, they will try to shun that individual, they will try to put darkness on that person's light, dim their blessings or their purpose or their calling. And that stems from jealousy, because a lot of people, have the potential. They have the gifts in order to live a certain path. However, because they care about what people say, they fear what society is going to think, they do not have the balls, basically, to stand up. And that's where that saying, many are called, but few are chosen, comes from. Because as I said before, we are all children of God. However, not a lot of people choose to answer that call, because a lot happens to you. In order for you to get to your position, to fulfill your purpose, you have to go through a lot of things in life. And black sheep in family, they tend to go through a lot. That is why they are also called the black sheep. Those tend to be the ones who may struggle with alcoholism, drug addiction, promiscuity. They may go through homelessness. They may end up in a whole bunch of abusive relationships, all types of things. And they end up doing those things technically because a lot of times they feel alienated around the environment and the people that they're around, because they don't understand them fully. So they choose different forms of escapism, because that takes them to a higher dimension, a higher place where they feel more comfortable, where they feel more at ease. It takes them from the 3D to the 4D to the 5D or wherever else they may go. Hence why with a lot of drugs and stuff, they use the terminology as being high, because it elevates you out of the 3D, right? And so a lot of people end up doing those things, and they end up getting hooked on the escapism because they feel more comfortable elsewhere, right? However, that is a part of their path and their purpose, because in order to be a true light worker, in order to truly help humanity, you have to be able to relate to others, right? That is a part of their purpose and their journey. Now, the favored people, the chosen ones, right? They go through multiple tests and life struggles, which are actually initiations, right? Now, you have to pass the test. You have to pass the initiation. There are a lot of people that are walking around here that are homeless, that are hooked on drugs, that are functioning alcoholics, and even non-functioning alcoholics, who, if they would have continued and went through it, they would have been initiated, and they would have been able to serve their higher purpose, because their experiences would be able to help humanity. However, a lot of people, they fear that, and they would rather the comfort of the unknown realms of the addiction, right? They wrap themselves in the comfort of that, the comfort of the alcohol addiction, the comfort of the drugs. And a lot of people, they get hooked because genetics, a lot of people do have addictive personalities. A lot of people do have addictive traits that were inherited genetically. However, God never gives you more than you can handle. So if people were to keep pushing through the addictions, the woes, the trials and tribulations of life, then they would pass those tests, and they would elevate in life and be able to fulfill their true life's purpose, because nothing comes easy. A lot of people who were born this lifetime with silver spoons in their mouth and live a life of luxury and X, Y, and Z, you have no idea what they went through in their past lives. You have no idea what they are going through in their personal lives, okay? Money is not everything. Money is what society deems as successful. However, that is not the truth. There's more to it. There's levels to this shit. That's what people don't understand, right? So once you go through these initiations and stuff that prove to yourself and to spirit that you are strong enough to wear the crown of a chosen one, that's what favorite people, we have to pass those tests. We have to pass those initiations to prove that we are strong enough, because as I said before, to whom much is given, much is required. Spirit cannot bless you with all the things that you want if you're not strong enough to handle it. That's why there's a lot of people who make it to the top, and then they crash and burn. They lose their success. They end up losing everything because they may have got it from, ulterior methods or motives, or they just were not ready, or whenever they had those trials and tribulations, they didn't pass those initiations. So they lose it. Now, child, bear with me because I was channeling, and my writing gets kind of crazy. Okay, that is how we get ascended masters, by people who go through different tests, trials, tribulations, and they pass them. And each one you pass, you get initiated to a higher level, right? So ascended master, the definition for, first of all, some examples of ascended masters, just for you guys to know, would be like Jesus Christ, Gandhi, Dr. Sebi, Nelson Mandela, Martin Luther King, X, Y, and Z. There are different types of ascended masters, but all of them had a pivotal purpose on the earth during the time that they were here, and they made a difference. Okay, that is what ascended master is. But the definition for ascended master, just for you guys who want to get technical, okay, is spiritually enlightened beings who in past incarnations were ordinary humans, but have what the fuck? Oh, but have undergone a series of spiritual transformations originally called initiations. See, so it all ties into what I'm saying. So when people tell you that Mother Teresa, all those saints and stuff, those are forms of ascended masters, but they went through things. Now, there's different things that you can go through because we all pick our life path before we come down here. So a lot of ascended masters, they go through different trials and tribulations. You know, some of them were born into poverty, right? Some of them became martyrs like Jesus Christ. He paid the ultimate debt for our sins, right? He was the ultimate one. That's why he's the most glorified and most known, because he gave his life for us, for humanity, okay? That's why he is one of the highest ascended masters, whether you believe in it or not. That's for you. Don't argue with me. Just talk to yourself about it, okay? Right? But those are the things whether they choose poverty, alienation, being a martyr in order to help tap into spiritual strength and esoteric knowledge in order to fulfill their mission or their purpose, the point of the fact of the matter is that they choose a path that they know is going to be hard. All right, there are tests along that path. Before we come down here, okay, in our Akashic records or the Lamb Book of Life, you know, for people who grew up in the Christians, you know what the Lamb's Book of Life is. That is the same thing as the Akashic record. Our life is already written for us before we come down here. So a lot of people who come down here, and as they go through these tumultuous situations and stuff, they fail, they quit, they give up. They're not living in their purpose. And that's why they fall prey to the addictions. Okay, they fall prey and susceptible to the life altering, even life-ending diseases, and you know, the toxic relationships, and even death in different ways to where, as they're not being a martyr, they're just being dead, basically, right? There is normally one chosen person in each family who will actually choose to fully go through those initiation processes, right? Because, as I said, many are called. So you could be in a family full of light workers, but it's very hard. A lot of people are very intimidated to answer that call. And that's why a lot of times most families will only have one or two black sheep in the family, but those are the chosen ones. Now, how they get through those tests and struggles, that will that will prove if they chose to truly answer the call or not. Because as I said, you're going to get that knock, but will you open the door? And when you open the door, will you walk through that motherfucker? And when you walk through that motherfucker, are you going to keep walking? Or are you going to be like, oh, hell no, this is too much, and turn back the fuck around and go down the path of destruction, basically, right? Because if you do not fulfill your purpose, just like they have the saying, the wages for sin is death. If you choose not to fulfill your purpose, then you basically will end up living in hell on earth. A life full of suffering. I don't want that. Sure. Okay, now in extreme cases of sibling rivalry, jealousy can lead to death or sabotage, because once those black sheep realize that they are chosen, because now is the time where people are awakening and ascending, and a lot of the people who were labeled as the weirdos or the black sheep in the family or X, Y, and Z, once they realize that they are chosen and they decide to walk in their path and their purpose, and they find their spirituality and stuff, you know, the other siblings may feel a way. They may feel jealous, especially if they decide to go a mainstream way or a path to please the family instead of doing their true heart's calling and heart's purpose. They might end up feeling a way, but that's personal. That's very, very personal. That's why it's very important to know when you are chosen and that blood is not thicker than water. And it is always the ones closest to you that want your position, although they could not handle the initiation. Keep that in mind. I'm keep that short and sweet. Don't forget to check out my Etsy shop, Empress Oracle Shop. I love you and be blessed.